Before you spend that dime, take a closer look. Some Roosevelt dimes hiding in your change could be worth thousands of dollars. The 1968 no S proof, the 1982 no mint mark, and silver dimes before 1965 are shocking collectors everywhere. Check your coins now. That tiny dime might make you rich. The 1968 United States Roosevelt 1 dime is a small coin that hides a big story, one of history, precision, and unexpected fortune. While it might seem like an ordinary piece of pocket change, some rare error versions of this dime have become the center of excitement among collectors, with prices reaching incredible figures. Believe it or not, certain 1968 Roosevelt dimes have sold at auction for anywhere between $63,200 and $145,250, turning what was once worth 10 cents into a stunning treasure. The Roosevelt dime series began in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, following his death the previous year. His profile replaced the Mercury design, symbolizing not only leadership but also his efforts in founding the March of Dimes, an organization that helped fight polio. By 1968, the U.S. Mint had made a significant transition. Silver was no longer being used for circulating dimes. The 1968 dimes were instead made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, a cost-saving change that began in 1965. Despite this, 1968 remains one of the most fascinating years for collectors because of the range of minting errors that occurred as the mint adjusted to new processes and technologies. The 1968 Roosevelt dime was struck at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D; and San Francisco, S. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins for collectors, and these were the first proof coins to have mint marks on them again after a 3-year hiatus. This marked a big comeback for proof sets, but with that comeback came confusion and experimentation, which resulted in several notable error coins that today can be worth thousands. One of the most striking and valuable error types from the 1968 Roosevelt dime series is the double die obverse. On these coins, parts of the inscriptions, especially "In God We Trust," "Liberty," or the date, appear doubled, as if the letters were printed twice in slightly different positions. The doubling is caused by a misalignment between the die and the coin planchet during production. These coins are rare and highly sought after, and depending on the strength of the doubling and the condition, their value can reach extraordinary levels. A 1968 Roosevelt dime with a strong double die obverse in mint state 67 condition fetched over $8,000 at auction, while another proof version with deeper doubling and flawless mirrors sold for over $18,500. But one stunning example, graded PR69 deep cameo with the doubling clearly visible on Liberty, shattered expectations when it was auctioned for $63,200, making it one of the most valuable dimes from that decade. Another popular and visually dramatic error is the off-center strike. When a dime is struck with the blank slightly misaligned in the coining press, the result is a design that's noticeably shifted, leaving part of the coin blank. Minor off-center strikes are collectible, but it's the major ones, especially those showing a clear portrait with missing portions, that fetch top prices. A 1968 D dime with a 50% off-center strike, fully showing Roosevelt's face and the date, sold for $7,400, while another near-perfect example, graded MS66 with an even more extreme 60% off-center strike, achieved $12,200 at a heritage auction. Then there's the wrong planchet error, one of the rarest and most valuable mistakes in the entire Roosevelt dime series. This occurs when a dime design is accidentally struck on a planchet meant for another coin, such as a cent, a foreign denomination, or even a blank of different metal composition. A remarkable 1968 dime struck on a penny planchet created a reddish copper dime weighing less than normal. This unusual piece sold for an astonishing $23,500. But even more surprising was a specimen struck on a silver planchet left over from 1964, making it a full silver 1968 dime, a coin that technically shouldn't exist. Only a handful of these have ever been found, and one of them, certified MS65 by PCGS, was sold for $145,250, setting a record for a modern U.S. dime. Clipped planchet errors from 1968 are also noteworthy. These occur when the sheet of metal from which coin blanks are cut overlaps during the punching process, resulting in dimes with curved or missing edges. The error gives the coin a bite mark appearance, and collectors love these because no two are exactly alike. A well-struck example with a large curved clip and full reverse details recently sold for $4,800, while another with two overlapping clips fetched $9,200. A more subtle but equally valuable error is the broad strike, which happens when the coin is struck without the restraining collar that keeps its shape. The result is a dime that's wider and flatter than usual, sometimes missing the reeded edge. A flawless 1968 broad strike with fully detailed devices and bright mint luster-graded MS-68 sold $4,500. There are even no S-proof errors from this year, proof dimes that were minted without the S mint mark. This happened when the die meant for San Francisco proofs was mistakenly prepared without the mint mark. These are incredibly rare, and examples from nearby years like 1970 and 1975 have fetched tens of thousands. The 1968 no S dimes, though less publicized, remain a numismatic legend, with high-grade examples commanding over $20,000. Another fascinating variety for collectors is the repunched mint mark, RPM. In 1968, the mint marks were still hand-punched onto the dies, meaning there was room for human error. Some Denver-minted dimes show two overlapping D mint marks, one slightly higher or lower than the other. Sharp examples with clear RPM doubling can bring $1,500 to $3,000 depending on condition. The most astonishing stories, however, come from ordinary people who discovered these treasures by accident. One collector from Oregon found a strange-looking dime with a silvery tone different from modern clad coins. After authentication, it turned out to be one of the elusive 1968 silver planchet errors. The coin, which he had kept in a small jar for decades, sold for $72,000. Another example came from an inherited coin collection in Illinois, an off-center proof dime that later fetched $14,900 at auction. The value of a 1968 Roosevelt dime error depends on its condition, rarity, and eye appeal. Coins certified by PCGS or NGC with high grades, especially those designated deep cameo or full bands, are extremely desirable. Even minor errors in pristine condition can sell for hundreds or thousands. Proof coins with strong mirrors and dramatic doubling can bring exceptional prices, often surprising both collectors and investors alike. These coins remind us that even in something as small as a dime, history, craftsmanship, and a little minting mystery can combine to create something extraordinary. The Roosevelt dime of 1968 may be overlooked by most, but for the keen-eyed collector, it holds immense potential. If you ever come across one, take a close look at the date, the mint mark, the rim, and the overall strike. A small irregularity, a misplaced letter, a missing mark, or an off-center design could mean you're holding a treasure worth tens of thousands. Many of these rare examples have already proven their worth, selling between $63,200 and $145,250 in major auctions. And with each discovery, the legend of the 1968 Roosevelt dime continues to grow. So before you spend that next dime, take a closer look. It just might be worth more than you could ever imagine. The 1976 U.S. Roosevelt one dime may seem like just another small coin, one that most people wouldn't think twice about as they hand it over for change or find it at the bottom of an old jar. But among the millions of these dimes that left the U.S. Mint that year, there are rare error versions that have become the center of fascination in the world of numismatics. These unique minting mistakes have transformed ordinary 10-cent coins into treasures worth anywhere from $53,350 to $130,500, depending on the error type and condition. It's incredible to think that something so tiny could hold such staggering value, but that's the magic of coin collecting and the unpredictable beauty of minting errors. The 1976 Roosevelt dime was struck during a period of national pride. The United States was celebrating its bicentennial, marking 200 years of independence. While quarters, half dollars, and dollars received special bicentennial designs, the dime kept its familiar look featuring President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch on the reverse. Even without a commemorative design, this little coin found a way to stand out through rare and valuable minting errors that have left collectors in awe. One of the most dramatic and sought-after errors on the 1976 Roosevelt dime is the double die obverse. This happens when the coin die shifts slightly between strikes, creating a doubling effect on the inscriptions or design details. On the 1976 dime, this doubling is most noticeable on the words Liberty, "In God We Trust," or the date itself. Coins with strong doubling, especially those in mint state, are considered highly collectible. One spectacular MS-67 double die example was auctioned for $44,700, while another with even sharper doubling and a proof-like finish soared to $87,500. When collectors spot this type of doubling under magnification, they know they're looking at something special. Another striking and highly valuable error is the off-center strike. When the coin blank, known as a planchet, isn't properly centered during striking, part of the design ends up missing. A minor off-center strike might not be worth much, but when 30% or more of the design is off-center while still showing a clear date, the value climbs rapidly. A 1976 dime with a 45% off-center strike and fully visible date once sold for $21,600, and a nearly 60% off-center example with full rims brought an astounding $53,350 at auction. The further off-center the strike, the rarer and more eye-catching the error, making it an instant conversation piece for collectors. One fascinating mistake found in some 1976 dimes is the broad strike error, which occurs when the coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally keeps it the correct shape. This causes the coin to expand outward, losing its reeded edge and appearing slightly larger than normal. Broad-struck coins with sharp details and bright luster have consistently fetched strong prices. One near-perfect example sold for $9,800, while another with proof-like surfaces reached $16,250 in a high-profile auction. Equally rare and impressive are clipped planchet errors, where a small portion of the coin's edge is missing due to a mishap during the blank cutting process. The missing area, often crescent-shaped, gives the coin a distinctive appearance. For 1976 Roosevelt dimes, this error can be extremely valuable, especially when the clip is large and the rest of the design remains intact. A 1976 clipped planchet dime in MS-66 condition sold for $12,600, while another with a massive 25% clip and brilliant surfaces achieved $22,450 at a major coin show. But perhaps the most famous and valuable 1976 dime errors are the wrong planchet strikes. This type of error occurs when a dime is mistakenly struck on a planchet meant for another denomination, most commonly a cent, a foreign coin, or even a blank intended for a different year. These coins are so unusual that they attract intense bidding wars when they appear at auction. One 1976 Roosevelt dime struck on a copper penny planchet sold for $65,000, while a similar example struck on a foreign coin blank fetched a record $130,500. Stunning the numismatic community. It's these types of incredible mix-ups that fuel the excitement of collectors, proving that even the smallest error can lead to huge rewards. Collectors also hunt for die break and cut errors on 1976 dimes, where parts of the die crack or break off during striking, leaving raised metal blobs or missing portions of the design. Some of these die breaks appear dramatically across Roosevelt's head or along the rim, making them visually striking. A 1976 dime with a large cut error covering the edge of the date sold for $7,800, while another with a spectacular break along the words, "In God We Trust," brought in $9,250. Each of these coins tells a story of mechanical imperfection during production, turning what was once a flaw into a collectible marvel. Even proof and mint set dimes from 1976 can contain rare and valuable mistakes. A small number of proof coins from the San Francisco Mint were discovered with double strikes or mirror doubling, making them extremely rare. A flawless 1976 S-proof dime showing bold doubling under magnification was auctioned for $38,500, while another deep cameo example with a perfect mirror finish sold for $52,400. Proof errors like these are highly prized because they combine beauty, rarity, and a glimpse into the precision process of coin production gone wrong. The growing popularity of error coins has made the 1976 Roosevelt dime an exciting target for collectors and treasure hunters alike. Many people still find these coins in circulation, often mixed with regular change or sitting forgotten in old collections. Coin experts often advise looking closely at the date, the edges, and the lettering to spot signs of doubling, clipping, or off-center striking. A simple magnifying glass can reveal features that the naked eye might miss, features that could mean the difference between a 10-cent coin and one worth thousands. Grading also plays a huge role in determining value. Coins certified by professional organizations like PCGS or NGC can command dramatically higher prices. A 1976 D Roosevelt dime with a strong double die obverse graded MS-68 by PCGS sold for $78,200, while another graded MS-69 with an off-center error crossed the $112,000 mark in a private auction. Collectors pay top dollar for high-grade examples that showcase both rarity and exceptional preservation. What's most incredible about the 1976 Roosevelt dime is that it's still out there. Millions were produced, and many remain in circulation. Stories continue to surface of people finding one of these rare error dimes in pocket change or old family coin jars, often without realizing its potential value. Imagine holding a coin that looks ordinary but could fetch as much as $130,500 at auction. That's the kind of surprise that makes the world of coin collecting so thrilling. So next time you get a handful of change, take a closer look at your dimes. Check the date, study the lettering, and look for anything that seems off. You never know, one tiny minting flaw could mean the difference between 10 cents and a life-changing discovery. The 1976 Roosevelt dime reminds us that even the smallest coins can tell big stories. And sometimes, those stories are worth a fortune. The 1972 United States Roosevelt one-dime coin might seem like just another small piece of change, but for coin collectors and enthusiasts, it represents one of the most fascinating and potentially valuable coins ever produced during that era. While millions of Roosevelt dimes were minted in 1972, a select few that left the mint with rare and remarkable errors have become treasures worth a fortune today. Some of these incredible coins have sold for astonishing amounts ranging from $58,500 to $140,150, making them more valuable than many cars and even small homes. Imagine finding a coin worth that much tucked away in an old jar or hidden in pocket change. That's the kind of dream that keeps collectors searching. The Roosevelt Dime Series, introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, has long been a favorite among collectors because of its simple yet elegant design. The obverse features a profile of Roosevelt with the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," while the reverse shows a torch flanked by olive and oak branches, symbolizing peace and strength. By 1972, the dimes were being struck in a copper-nickel-clad composition rather than the 90% silver used in earlier years. But even without silver, these coins still carried immense value, especially when errors occurred during production. One of the most famous and valuable types of error on the 1972 Roosevelt dime is the double die obverse. This happens when the coin's die, the tool that stamps the image, shifts slightly between strikes, creating a doubled effect on parts of the design. When you look at a genuine double die, the letters "In Liberty" and "In God We Trust" appear to have shadows or a faint second outline, and sometimes Roosevelt's features themselves look slightly duplicated. These doubling errors are often dramatic and visible to the naked eye, making them highly collectible. In one remarkable auction, a pristine 1972 double die dime with sharp doubling across the motto sold for $68,700, while another in near-perfect mint state fetched a stunning $140,150, setting a new benchmark for error coins of this type. Another extraordinary and rare 1972 dime error involves off-center strikes, which occur when the blank metal disc, called a planchet, isn't perfectly centered during the minting process. This causes part of the design to be missing or pushed to one side. A coin with a 5% or 10% off-center strike might bring in a few $100s, but one that's 40% or more off-center with the date still visible can skyrocket in value. A 1972 Roosevelt dime with a dramatic 50% off-center strike was sold at auction for $15,900, while a similar one in gem condition brought $23,500. Collectors are drawn to these coins not only because of their rarity but because each one is visually unique. No two look exactly the same. There's also a fascinating type of 1972 dime error known as a clipped planchet, which happens when the metal sheet used to punch out blank coins overlaps incorrectly, causing a portion of the coin's edge to be missing. The result looks like a small bite has been taken out of the coin. A perfectly preserved 1972 dime with a clean crescent-shaped clip and strong mint luster once sold for $7,250, while another with two overlapping clips was auctioned for $12,100. These coins are fascinating because they demonstrate how even the most minor mistake in the minting process can create something completely unique. One of the most unusual and sought-after errors in the 1972 dimes is the struck on a wrong planchet error. This occurs when a dime is accidentally struck on a metal blank meant for another denomination, like a cent or a foreign coin. These mistakes are extremely rare, but when they happen, they're instantly recognized by experts due to their weight, size, and color differences. A 1972 Roosevelt dime struck on a copper cent planchet was sold at a major auction for $82,500, while another struck on a foreign coin blank reached $96,000 due to its rarity and pristine condition. These are the kinds of coins that make headlines in the numismatic community because they represent a once-in-a-lifetime find. Collectors have also documented broad strike errors in 1972 dimes, where the coin expands outward during minting because the restraining collar wasn't in place. This gives the coin a wider, thinner appearance with a perfectly centered design but no reeded edges. These are visually striking errors, and examples in mint state condition have been known to sell for between $3,000 and $6,000, depending on the sharpness of the strike and the preservation of the details. Among the more dramatic 1972 dime errors are the multiple strike errors, where the coin is struck more than once, creating overlapping images or shifted designs. In one particularly famous case, a 1972 dime was struck 3 times, each slightly off-center, creating an almost surreal look. This piece, graded at a high mint state level, stunned collectors when it sold for $58,500, making it one of the most talked-about coin auctions of its time. Another interesting variety is the missing clad layer error, which happens when one of the nickel layers of the coin's composition is missing, exposing the copper core underneath. These coins have a distinct reddish tone and weigh slightly less than normal. A 1972 dime with a missing clad layer on one side was auctioned for $12,800, while one missing both clad layers, essentially a copper dime, brought $19,600 at a heritage coin auction. These errors are both rare and highly recognizable, making them a must-have for serious collectors. One of the record-breaking sales came from a 1972 Roosevelt dime featuring a combination of errors: a double die obverse, a partial collar strike, and a slight off-center alignment. This coin was a true minting marvel, showcasing multiple mistakes in a single piece. The coin, graded by PCGS as Mint State 67, became the centerpiece of an elite collection and sold for a mind-blowing $140,150, proving that perfection isn't always what collectors seek. Sometimes, it's the imperfections that make a coin truly priceless. It's important to note that not every 1972 dime will hold such extraordinary value. Most are common circulation coins worth only 10 cents, but every now and then, someone stumbles upon a piece with something different: a faint doubling, an off-center strike, or a discoloration that suggests an error. These small details can turn a pocketful of change into a potential jackpot. Many collectors recommend checking older coin rolls, inherited coin jars, or mint sets, as these are often the places where rare minting errors remain hidden for decades before being rediscovered. The world of coin collecting thrives on stories like these, where something as ordinary as a dime can turn into a piece of American history and a fortune all at once. The 1972 Roosevelt dime reminds us that value isn't always about size or weight. Sometimes it's about rarity, craftsmanship, and the quirks of the minting process that turn a simple coin into an extraordinary artifact. So, the next time you come across a 1972 dime, don't overlook it. Hold it under a good light, inspect the lettering, and check the edges carefully. You might just have one of those rare minting errors that could make you the next lucky collector to turn 10 cents into a treasure worth between $58,500 and $140,150. A true testament to how remarkable mistakes can create history in the smallest of forms.